Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. The Trump administration's Department of Homeland Security is now melting down over a hotel. Recently, a Hilton franchise denied lodging to ICE agents in Minnesota, prompting ICE and DHS officials to erupt.
The Department of Homeland Security is calling out Hilton hotels after a Minneapolis franchise location abruptly canceled a reservation for federal agents.
A few weeks ago, the Trump administration assigned dozens of agents to Minnesota to target migrants. The agents' activities have included making dozens of random arrests and even dragging protesters through the snow, including that pregnant woman.
She's pregnant! Hey, okay, swear at your face! She's pregnant!
Oo isu dhaxeeya ICE-ka iyo dadka kale.
Oh, he's dragging!
Yes, he's dragging.
Following that incident, protesters decided to ratchet up their message to federal agents by making sure the agents at a local hotel could not sleep. For hours and hours, night after night, the bells, whistles, and drums kept going. The racket reportedly did not amuse hotel guests who were not part of the ICE contingent. So to avoid controversy and protect their own business, the owner of this Minneapolis Hampton Inn decided to exercise their right, as articulated by the U.S. Supreme Court, to make customer-based decisions based on political or moral beliefs. A few years ago, the court ruled that a Colorado bake shop owner could deny service to a gay couple in Colorado. In Minnesota, the hotel owner used that legal precedent to deny service to federal ICE agents, trampling on migrants' constitutional rights.
As that hotel canceled those reservations for DHS officers after seeing their government emails. DHS posted a series of screenshots that appear to be from a Hilton email account on January 2nd. One of those emails saying, "We are not allowing any immigration agents to house on our property."
At that point, DHS reacted with outrage of biblical proportions. DHS cast itself as the Holy Family, shivering in the cold while the cruel innkeeper slammed the door. "No room at the inn," the agency tweeted. This, of course, was false. There was plenty of room at the inn. Minneapolis in early January is not exactly Daytona Beach during spring break. Eventually, DHS conceded the issue was not scarcity but choice. The hotel, exercising its own judgment, had decided it did not wish to do business with these particular federal agents. In other words, the hotel viewed the ICE and DHS agents as undesirable customers. The hysterics from DHS kept coming. "This is unacceptable," the government officials thundered. "Why is Hilton siding with murderers and rapists?" One imagines a room full of Trump lackeys slapping each other in the back for that line, mistaking volume for logic. Of course, there was no logic in the DHS accusations. A hotel sides with murderers and rapists by lodging murderers and rapists, not by refusing rooms to federal agents. Also, there is the assumption that ICE is in fact hunting murderers and rapists. Where is that proof? If such violent criminals were being dragged off by the dozens, DHS could prove this claim by publishing a list of them. Convicted would be ideal, plausibly suspected would suffice if there was some actual evidence. Instead, what we know is that ICE's specialty is seizing long-term undocumented migrants whose chief crime is existing without proper paperwork. As a result, Hilton deserves not condemnation, but applause. The hotel is merely declining to participate in a vile bureaucratic morality play. Anyway, after DHS accused the entire Hilton company of a coordinated campaign to deny service to federal agents, the company noted that the hotel in Minneapolis is independently owned and operated.
Hilton's position is clear. Our properties are open to everyone, and we do not tolerate any form of discrimination. The management company for the Hampton Inn Lakeville property is also issuing a statement. Everpeak Hospitality says they have moved swiftly to address this matter, as it was inconsistent with our policy of being a welcoming place for all. We are in touch with the impacted guests to ensure they are accommodated. We do not discriminate against any individuals or agencies and apologize to those impacted.
In other words, the parent companies, Hilton and Everspeak Hospitality, caved. However, the specific owner of the Hampton Inn Hotel apparently did not do anything and made no calls or apologies to the federal agents. And that prompted another angry tweet from DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin.
I wonder how Everpeak Hospitality has moved swiftly to address this matter when DHS and ICE have not heard anything from them.
There is a delicious irony at work here. When the U.S. Supreme Court, in Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission, affirmed the right of a private business to refuse service on the basis of its beliefs, conservatives rejoiced. The conservatives, including those working across the Trump administration now, including at DHS, they were thrilled when a baker declined to make a cake. Now, these same conservatives are outraged when a hotel declines to make a bed. This is not a contradiction. It is the conservative worldview in miniature. Liberty for me, discipline for thee.
I don't think this speaks to the larger Hilton, but definitely that local Hilton.
That franchise.
Yeah, I don't think their statement was adequate either.
Again, Minnesota.
Brian Kilmeade is such a dunce. If the Department of Homeland Security wants to improve its standing, here's an idea. Tell the truth. Refrain from assaulting protesters and journalists, and respect the constitutional rights of citizens and non-citizens alike. If ICE and DHS agents want a room at the inn, attempt Christian conduct of the original variety, not the perversion practiced by the MAGA crowd. Until then, federal agents may have to make do elsewhere. If they really need shelter, the agents should find a campground and pitch a tent. Better yet, just go home. These ICE raids are an abomination, as a courageous hotel owner in Minnesota has highlighted. Kudos to every business owner taking a stand, and shame on ICE and DHS for whining. By the way, Donald Trump has now tanked the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. It was supposed to be a triumph.
A very big hello and welcome.
The president served as master of ceremonies at the Kennedy Center Honors. But headline, Kennedy Center Honors ratings tank like never before thanks to Trump. Donald Trump's takeover of the historic institution has effectively killed its popularity.
A dance company is now the latest group of performers to pull out of a show at the Trump Kennedy Center after the president put his name on the front of the building.
You've got more artists now pulling out of scheduled events.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular was from Clement, who wrote, "Who in hell would play or perform at a place with that idiot's name on it?" Indeed. I look forward to reading your comments about the Trump administration's Department of Homeland Security melting down over a hotel that refused to provide rooms for ICE agents. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.